And welcome to this edition of ACAP Today for the week of September 6th, 2020. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. It's great to have you with us on this week's broadcast. Today, we're going to talk about back to school time. Yes, here in Aroostook County, that was almost a month ago now already, but we're going to get ready for a second wave of back to school for some students with potato harvest and with the summer behind us and back to school time certainly upon us, and for our elementary school students as well. This is a great time of year to connect with several of our programs, our prevention and health programs, as well as a behavioral health specialist who works here with the agency, about what is happening with our youth and how they can be best prepared for a new school year. Before we get to that conversation, though, we're going to go first to this week's news and information that you can use. And we begin again this week of September 6th, 2020, Labor Day week. We begin with this in the ACAP news, a county job fair. Our workforce development team and others here at ACAP are preparing for a county job fair that is coming up next Thursday, September 16th. It will be from 9 a.m. to 12 noon at the Aroostook Center Mall in the Kmart location just off of the food court. We certainly invite all to participate in this. There will be dozens or more of employers from across Aroostook County, many of whom are actively looking for job applicants at this time. You can leave applications there, and in some cases, some employers will be offering on-the-spot interviews. We certainly encourage you to look into this opportunity. You can call our workforce development team if you have a need for more information, or also the Career Center here locally. This is a partnership between the Career Center here in Central Aroostook County, the Central Aroostook Chamber of Commerce, and our workforce development team here at the Aroostook County Action Program. And again, please do attend if you are able, the County Job Fair Thursday, September 16th. We want to also, and we'll be talking a little bit more about tobacco and tobacco policy in our back to school special here in just a little bit, but we want to remind folks of this opportunity that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks now, and that's the Freedoms from Smoking group sessions that are being offered through MSAD Adult Education as well as ACAP in a partnership opportunity. There are 2 7-week 8-class sessions that are available. You can see right there on your screen those that are coming right up starting next week here in Central Aroostook County. We certainly welcome you to call us with more information. MSAD1 also has additional information. You can visit their website for more information there. There's a $20 fee, but we can waive that fee, and so we certainly encourage you to inquire about that with adult education about how that can happen. This is a great opportunity in a group setting for the support that comes with a group setting if you're looking to quit tobacco products at this time. We certainly encourage that as part of healthy lifestyle here in Aroostook County. So again, if you have any questions, please either reach out to us here at ACAP or MSAD #1 Adult Education, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, and hope to see you in one of these 7 8-week class sessions. You can see there that they are aligned for one during the day for folks who might be available between that 1 o'clock and 2:30 time slot, but also for the convenience of individuals who work a traditional workday, an evening opportunity between 6 and 7:30 in the evening is being offered. The Home Energy Assistance Program has released its guidelines and has begun taking applications and doing intake appointments for the 2021-2022 season. You can see here on your screen the income eligibility guidelines for the program. I do want to share with all of you that those income eligibility guidelines have increased over last year. So if you were just at the threshold and maybe didn't qualify last year, or if circumstances have changed in your household, and for example, your household of 1 and in the course of a year make under just $29,190 or so dollars. Even if you make a little bit more than that, we encourage you to call for an appointment and to speak with our Home Energy Assistance Program intake staff. This is an opportunity for you to receive assistance with your fuel, and we can look at other qualifying factors such as cost of prescription drugs or other healthcare expenses, as well as others. We really encourage folks to apply for this benefit. You're not taking funds from somebody else if you apply, and there have been additional dollars that have been committed to the HEAP program as a result of pandemic relief. So there certainly are funds there this year to support community members. And again, encourage you to call us if you think that you might be eligible. And I think many folks with the increased eligibility guidelines do find that the circumstances have changed and they may be eligible. So it's certainly worth the call. Similarly, our emergency rental assistance program is also currently taking applicants. This program has expanded its guidelines to basically include folks who meet the income qualification guidelines, which are available on the main housing and the ACAP website. The income qualification guidelines are, again, not as definitive as all that. You can call our rental assistance staff or complete your application. Best move is to complete the application through the main housing or ACAP website. If you meet the income qualification guidelines and you can attest, which all of us can, an increased cost of home heating oil or fuel for your vehicle, and certainly groceries as a result of things that have happened as a result of the pandemic, increased cost, you will likely qualify for this program. So we encourage all renters in Aroostook County to reach out to us and to certainly fill out an application. Again, best route is to fill out an application, and we will work with you once we get to that application to determine your eligibility. We do have childcare openings at our centers in Aroostook County, and we know childcare is a huge concern for folks right now. We encourage you to reach out, even though we might not have a childcare opening at the center immediately closest to you. We can certainly put you on a waiting list. It's a good idea to think ahead if you might need childcare moving forward. We do accept children ages 6 weeks to 5-year-olds in our childcare program, and operate childcare facilities from 6:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening to work with various schedules of parents out there. I am pleased to announce that we will be expanding our childcare services yet again, this time up in the St. John Valley, and adding a childcare classroom up there. Please do give us a call. 768-3045 will get you connected with any of the childcare centers in Aroostook County in terms of the application. You can also visit the Early Care and Education page of the ACAP website to begin the application process. And we certainly look forward to hearing from folks across Aroostook County, including now in Fort Kent, where a new center or a new classroom at that center will be added. We are also offering some limited openings in our Head Start program, specifically in Caribou, Holton, and Dyer Brook. I do caution that these are changing by the moment. So if you do call, we want to encourage folks to get right to it, because some of those slots may have been taken. But this is a comprehensive preschool development program, and we offer coaching services and other support services for the entire family. It's more than just the engagement of the child in the program. Again, 764-3045 will get you connected with our enrollment specialist, or you can look at the Early Care and Education website of the page of the ACAP website to get an application online. We are reminding folks that we are requiring face coverings and health and safety checks in order to enter any ACAP facility in Aroostook County. At this point, we will be providing masks outdoors so that people who don't have masks who present at our facilities can mask prior to entering into our building. We're doing this out of an abundance of caution and safety for not only our staff, but also for you as well, and for customers who visit our agency facilities. Thank you very much for complying and for understanding this at this time. Our agency staff are also all wearing masks in common gathering areas and places where they meet with customers and with each other, again, out of safety for the health and safety of our employees. We also want to encourage folks who have not yet been vaccinated to please consider getting vaccinated. These are some of the friendly faces of our ACAP team members and some alums of our ACAP team who have gotten their vaccination. The vaccination website, maine.gov/COVID-19/vaccines, will help you find a location nearest you. If you also are having difficulty finding a location or connecting and completing an online application for those that still require that, you can call us at 764-3721 and we'll help you navigate through that. There's also a free vaccine ride program being offered through the Department of Health and Human Services. They ask that you call 48 hours in advance. That number, 855-608-5172. Don't let transportation be an impediment, or lack of transportation be an impediment to getting to a vaccination clinic. The community cupboard here at 771 Main Street in our Presque Isle location next to Walmart is in need of a sponsor. It's the most heavily utilized community cupboard out there in Aroostook County in terms of volume, and it helps meet food security needs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a quick assistance. So we encourage you to please consider this. If you're a business or organization out there hearing this, would like to sponsor it, there are two ways you can do that. $500 for the month will get you the named sponsorship, and it will provide our staff with the financial resources to be able to go grocery shopping to stock the cupboard with non-perishable food items. or your business or organization, if you are nearby, can adopt the community cupboard and work to stock it with your team over the course of the month. Sherry Locke is a contact person for this, and her information is there on your screen. Speaking of food security, we want to remind folks out there that there has been legislation that has been passed through the U.S. Department of Agriculture that as of August 16th, that was when the announcement was made that the expansion of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program will essentially allow the program to reach more individuals, about 21% increase in the benefit that will be out there compared to fiscal year 2019. That adjustment will take place in just under a month on October 1st. We certainly encourage folks who are receiving SNAP to be aware of this. This will be a huge help, but we also encourage those who are not SNAP eligible or who have not been up to this point and think you might be or be in need to contact us, and we can help you determine eligibility for that program. Another area of food security that we want to make people aware of is the pandemic EBT cards that have been distributed by the state of Maine and the additional benefits that are being allocated to families with school age and younger children. If you have received something like what you're seeing here on your screen in the mail, it is not junk mail. Please do not discard it. We encourage you to visit the website pinetreecard.com, as you can see there on your screen, to get more information about pandemic EBT benefits, including the summer benefit that just would have expired at this point, but certainly if the program were to continue next summer, you'd want to have your family enrolled in that. So please do pay attention if you have received an envelope like this in the mail, and if you think you have and accidentally thrown it away, visit the website for further guidance. Our housing team is also putting a call out there for contractors across Aroostook County. We employ contractors on a regular basis to do projects such as home repairs, but also projects in our central heat improvement program, which help replace furnaces and heating systems in homes across Aroostook County, especially for senior citizens. We encourage you to contact Shannon Hill at 554-4157, or her email address there on your screen if you are a contractor and might be interested in doing some contract work for ACAP and for your community. And lastly, in this week's news and information you can use, if you are in need of services or are in need of anything at this point, we encourage you to please reach out to our ACAP Navigator. You may not know what services are available, just know that there might be a food security challenge or a heating challenge in your home or something of that nature. Our ACAP Navigators are a great place to start. You can reach them by calling our main line at 764-3721. And we will certainly work with you to see what services might be accessible to you, whether they are ACAP services or those outside of our agency. And that's this week's news and information you can use. I'm pleased now to transition over to our back to school tips for success. We have 4 members of the ACAP team that are joining us for this conversation that represent the 5210 Let's Go program, Drug Free Aroostook, Tobacco and Prevention Treatment, County Restorative Practices, and Breakthrough Youth. And we're very pleased to welcome them now to our program. I want to say a special hello and welcome to Chastity Holland. Chas, welcome to the program. And
thank you. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay. And also Julia Macek. Julia and Chas are both repeat guests. Nice to have you both.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
And Meg Hegmann, who oversees our prevention team here at ACAP. Meg, great to have you back. Everyone's a repeat guest today.
Glad to be here.
And lastly, Renee Bragdon, 5210 Let's Go, who will get us moving and eating healthy as she always does. And we always have a great time when Renee joins us on the program because she always has some great advice. And actually, Renee, we're going to start with you because we're talking about back to school. And for many people, back to school means back to school routines. And by back to school routines, that might mean going to bed a little bit earlier than the kids have in the summer with the longer days and the freedom from not having to be up and at them for school to start bright and early at 8 o'clock. So help us out. How do parents help their children settle into a new bedtime routine in such a way that helps them be successful in their day at school?
Right, and so I do want to add a few things along with what you said. I know that since understandably it's been summer and we kind of sometimes get off of our routines and they're a bit loosened as far as bedtime. But one thing that I really want to talk about is something called sleep hygiene. And it's not always a term that people have heard, but it definitely is all about building healthy sleeping habits. And it kind of refers to the good sleep hygiene, that it's important because your behaviors during the day sometimes affect how you sleep, whether it's, the drink choices, the scheduling, the evening routines, and even the physical activity that you do throughout the day can affect how you sleep. And so I want to mention also that it's super important that it's kind of crucial, actually, that it affects our mental health and our physical health and our overall health quality of life too. So I think this is a good portion of session to talk about, because it can help parents understand how their children are behaving or why. And a lot of times sleep does affect all of those things.
Yes, so it's not, so we're going to talk about how it's not just thank you for introducing us. It's not just a back to school thing, but let's talk about some of the specifics as it relates to preparing your child to go back to school and into that routine. How can that be helpful for them and to them?
Right. And it can be very helpful as long as the kids are getting the right amount of sleep. And I just wanted to touch on a few things that preschoolers, typically 3 to 5 years of age, should be getting 10 to 13 hours of sleep, which is surprising to some people. School age kids that are 6 to 13 years of age, they should be getting 9 to 11 hours of sleep every night. And teenagers, 14 to 17 years of age, need 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. So that would definitely help parents to have that information, to know, maybe they just need to get back on a schedule and help their kids that way, knowing the amount of time that's important for them to feel healthy.
Awesome. So we have some six tips here for bedtime and for back to school bedtime success. Let's talk through those.
Sure. So the first one here says preparing your kids the night before. And so this is something that we do at our home. It kind of helps your morning go much smoother if you prepare the night before. So just ideas such as packing snacks, setting your alarm, helping your kids lay out their clothes and packing up the backpacks. Absolutely. So your morning can kind of go a little smoother if those things are taken care of.
All right, so that's one tip for success. Let's move on to the second one.
That's right. And so the second one is setting up a routine where you slow down before going to bed. And this is very important because sometimes it's setting the tone. I do want to add a few things about the bedtime routine and some ideas that you could do. Have kids, and this applies to younger and older kids, even teens, taking a warm bath before bed kind of slows things down. Brushing your teeth, washing up, sometimes journaling or meditating and praying. Those types of things help your system to kind of slow down, prepare yourself for going to bed.
And that involves a number of these things here, like screen time, right? That's probably a no-no, I'm guessing.
Right. And so there's a few things about screen time I definitely want to touch on. I have lots and lots of notes here. So much good information. A lot of the studies that show before the bedtime experience, if you have a poor bedtime experience before you go to sleep, a lot of times it's the screens. And so screens have a blue light, and they say that the studies that they've done that the blue lights will suppress the melatonin in your body, and melatonin is the hormone that helps you and tells you when it's time to go to sleep. So that's why it's super important to make sure not to use the screens at least an hour before bedtime.
And one of the things here that it's saying, item number 6, we're talking about adjusting that bedtime for earlier if they're not getting enough sleep. So that's something. And does that, you mentioned by age category, sort of the amount of sleep that children should have. So does that also play into effect of when bedtime should be set? Right.
And so if setting a bedtime routine is a little bit different because we've just come out of summer. And so now you've got to get back onto that routine. And a lot of suggested studies say back up that bedtime routine 15 minutes the first couple weeks before school starts. Go 15 minutes earlier, and then the next night 15 minutes earlier, until you're used to going to that and keeping that bedtime, whatever goal you've set for your child.
All right. So anything else we want to touch on sleep before we get to my more favorite part, which is breakfast?
I know, right? Well, I just want to make sure that people know that although sleep is super important too, there's some sleep hygiene tips that I wanted to add to. I know we talked about regular exercise through the day. I had said something about that. But napping can really change how you're sleeping, because if you're sleeping too much through the day, taking naps, it can contribute to having sleep problems throughout the night too. Caffeine's the other thing. Children with caffeine, adults with caffeine, we all know when we drink too much caffeine, sometimes it's hard to fall asleep. So limit that caffeine for your kids and yourself if you're looking to get more sleep.
All right, so I've been itching to get on. I don't get a gold star on sleep, but I do get a gold star on breakfast. So I do want to switch over to breakfast. And why is breakfast so important? And I'm going to admit, I'm the only one in my house that eats breakfast.
Right. Well, there's so many studies. It's proven that breakfast is the most important part of the day. It is fuel for your body. You know, it's proven that it's better focus for your kids. It helps them feel better, act better throughout the day, and it's an overall healthy, you know, keeps you healthy. But it's proven that when kids are getting the vitamins and the minerals, they're not focused on being hungry. If they're eating the nutritional food that they need, they're focused on their academics instead of, I mean, when your stomach is grumbling, you know, it's very hard to focus and to pay attention. So it definitely does can improve how students work each day and how successful they are at school.
Awesome. So what we're talking about here is making sure you do it every day. So consistency, like with sleep, there's a consistency pattern there, but also what goes into the breakfast is critically important and how you keep it healthy. So you have some suggestions here. Why don't we talk about some of those on the screen in terms of what makes for a good breakfast? And it's not necessarily a cold slice of pizza, right?
Right, absolutely. Now, we want to make sure and focus on whole grains. That tends to really help kids with the nutritional value. We can always try cups of fruit. You can add yogurt with fruit, pieces of fruit like bananas, oranges inside that yogurt. Sometimes something kids like, quick and easy. A bowl of cereal with milk, add some you know, more fruit in there, a slice of toast with peanut butter or nut butter and milk. So that way you're getting your calcium, you're getting all of the mix of everything, the proteins that you need when you're adding the peanut butter. That's always helpful too. Toast with English muffins, slices of cheese, you get your dairy that way. Trill mix, nuts, things like that for kids. Always a good option.
And it's making me hungry. And I will say to my prevention team colleagues out there, my best, most shining part of the day in terms of the work that you do is from 5:15 in the morning when I head out for my run until I'm done my breakfast. And that's the time of day that I'm like, I'm getting you gold star from the four of you anyway. So let's move on now to something that's also related. And I want to talk with Julia Macek about this. And that's how we the emotional side of things and how we best prepare our children to be emotionally prepared. And that's a really critical factor, Julia, right now, especially given all of the additional stressors of having children during a pandemic and children going to school. And we're hearing about all the status of schools changing and stopping and starting and mask wearing and alike. But talk about the concept of social and emotional learning at home.
Well, you hit on a couple of important pieces. You know, our emotional well-being is so critical in being able to, for children particularly when they go to school, to be able to focus and be able to be grounded and be able to just participate in their school activities. And so when their emotional well-being is not in a place to learn due to many factors that may be going on, and you mentioned a couple of them as far as, you know, with what we're all experiencing with COVID over the last 18 months, the uncertainty around, what that's going to look like. And so kids are coming to school with excitement about being back to school, but they also probably have worries about what it's going to look like and how their school year is going to pan out, and just what to expect. And so when we think about social emotional learning, this is a piece where, and the reference of SEL is basically promoting holistic child development by teaching children skills such as self-regulating, persistence, empathy building, self-awareness, and mindfulness. And so these kind of tips around, you can do this at home. It's as important for adults to kind of have that awareness with your own social emotions and what's happening with you, so that then you can also help your child to be able to be focused. And you want to look at approaching, the tips here on the screen are just kind of small snippets about, things that you can do to begin to develop that social emotional learning for your child, because they'll be practicing a lot of these things, opportunities in school, but it gives you that kind of overview of what they're going through, and you can partner together, as a family.
So let's walk through them, Julia. Talk about the first one of taking an asset-based approach that focuses on your child's strengths. What does that mean?
You really want to emphasize on your child's strengths. Oftentimes in schools, they're identified as superpowers. So even asking your child, what is your superpower? And helping them grow and build on those characteristics. Because that also will give them a sense of, if they can identify a superpower, what can they then do to look at improving? For an example, if a child brings home a grade on a test that he or she isn't happy with, you want to first discuss what she did or he did well, and look at those strengths first. Then you can shift that discussion around what can be done differently or how can you improve. So your focus is on that process, looking at the skills versus the outcome, and not to harbor on those areas where they may need that support, but really trying to focus on that strength initially.
No,
this also works well with schools too, because they oftentimes are practicing those skills with your child. And so you can, partner together with your school and increase those habits at home.
Right. Now, the next one can be a tricky one for parents, because you're asking your child how they're feeling, and that's pretty self-explanatory there. But you have any tips and tricks to sort of break through that if the answer is not forthcoming or not necessarily consistent with what you're reading on your child? How do you help bring that out?
And exactly, exploring emotions by asking your child how you feel can be a closed-ended question, but you can make it an open-ended question, where that kind of sends the message that your child's feelings matter. So if they might say, I don't know, you can ask them, well, can you maybe explain to me about using an I statement and asking your child about feelings? When they're talking about their emotions or feelings, that might help them then be able to identify a little more about what it is that they're feeling. But it's also important to model as parents. If you're not able to really express your thoughts and feelings, it may be challenging for your child. So being able to express how you might feel and explaining a little bit about why you might be feeling happy or excited or stressed, because your child is oftentimes modeling what they see within their family and with their parents. So really encouraging them to explore, maybe using pictures to help them identify what that feeling might be, to open that door to expressing them in a more open, better way.
And that really is number 3 there, modeling that empathy and that kindness and sharing and helping behavior. 4 really looks at something that is commonplace for many parents with young children, especially, but there is an important factor of reading books to or with your child.
Exactly. Reading is so very important, and the recommendation that your child's teacher may be sharing, that they can continue to learn and be exploring those stories and themes. But they also should be connected to kind of your child's social emotional area, so they can kind of connect and be able to reflect on what it is that you're reading. Reading books together, again, helps your child and explore how these characters handle maybe it's conflicting relationships, but it's also opportunities to build in that relationship with you, because your child needs that continual support and guidance and relationship building is so very important with social emotions.
Absolutely. Now, problem solving. This next one really talks about that. Talk about the importance of allowing a child to do some of that on their own.
Well, it's important to resist that temptation to step in and offer solutions to your child on difficult situations, because you want to encourage them to be able to learn how to problem solve. Because the more they're able to kind of take a situation and have outcomes to that situation, they'll be able to build on their confidence, their self-esteem, and it's just a great skill for them to have, ongoingly. So instead, ask probing questions to help your child solve their problems on their own. Discuss how decisions might impact others. That's that empathy building, how your behaviors and your choices might relate, how somebody else might be feeling with that. And then look at the pros and cons around those solutions that you come up with as a family, so that your child has the understanding of the right and maybe not so right, the pros and cons of that solution.
Absolutely. And we talked a lot about that, modeling that emotional labeling, that emotional regulation. You just mentioned that. Build that in also about being willing to apologize.
Mm-hmm. That's a huge thing, because I think as adults, sometimes it's hard to be able to apologize and even forgive, that person and what's happened. And in restorative practices, that's a big component of working with individuals to begin to learn how to identify your own behaviors and actions, but also be open to the other person's thoughts and feelings about how your actions, how your actions have affected the other person. And so you want to, sometimes in that opportunity to have maybe a quiet area in your home that you can give your child an opportunity to cool down. Classrooms are encouraged to do some of that as well, so that your child then, as they learn those steps around what maybe causes them to be angry, they can have a place where they can take some deep breaths and be able to calm down. And then you can talk as a family about what they can do next, and what are some of their other options to deal with that situation.
Okay, great. Anything else before we move on to another topic that you want to focus on, Julia, about this concept of social emotional learning in the home?
No, I think that, the most important piece is really to be willing to listen and be open with your child, so they can feel like they can come to you and share those thoughts and feelings with you.
And that's a perfect segue, Julia, into the conversation we're going to have with Meg Hegmann, who again leads our prevention programs here at ACAP. And Meg, usually I get quizzed or tested by you, or I'm answering some kind of questions, but you're going to actually help me through something now that I can take into account, and any parent out there can with their own children, and that's how you can role model and how you can better connect with your youth. So talk to me about this.
Sure. So very often when we think about back to school and all of the things that Renee and Julia have mentioned already, we tend to focus on littles. We can set our young children up for success. And very often by the time our kids reach middle school, let alone high school, we've felt like that ship has sailed, that whatever foundation we have established is there, and we tend to kind of get a little more lax. And so really it is at least as important, if not even more so, when kids are in middle school and high school, to really continue modeling. They are still listening, and it's easy for us to think of the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds who start parroting our words back to us. But our teenagers are also going to start parroting behavior more so than specific words. So especially when it comes to stress management, this pandemic is never ending, it seems. And so we as adults are stressed, and our young people are seeing how we manage that. And unfortunately, for many of us, that has meant an increase in alcohol consumption, an increase in substance abuse. Alcohol sales have gone up at least 24% since the beginning of the pandemic. And our young people are seeing that. So we need to be really careful about how we are modeling the way we deal with stress. If we come home after a hard day work and complain about being really tired, and the first thing we do is pour a glass of wine, that's sending a message. If we say to our child, hey, can you bring me a beer from the fridge? That is not the message that we want to be sending to our young people about how to deal with stress. It's much healthier to say, come for a walk with me, or even don't come with me because I need some time away, but I just need some time to go be reflective for a minute. I'm going to go take a hot shower. I'm going to go, pound the pavement for a little bit, and I'm going to go for a run or a walk. I'm going to go breathe and go walk in nature for a while so that they can actually begin to see healthier ways that their own parents, the adults in their lives are managing with stressful reaction. It's also really important to know that the stress that we are under is for all ages. And so young people, especially teens, their brains are geared they're already under a lot of stress between the physical changes that they're dealing with, COVID. If they were working during harvest break, they might be learning how to drive. Those are all really stressful things on top of their need for connection. They're wired to be connected with other individuals, and that part of their brain is really growing and really important to making those connections right now. And COVID is preventing a lot of that. It's getting in the way. And so we really need to be mindful of encouraging them to stay connected to their family, also to their friends. And I know gaming can seem like it's not the most productive time, and it can certainly become a challenge. And Renee's right, we got to turn the screens off an hour before bedtime. At the same time, we do need to recognize that for many of our young people, that's how they're staying connected. So they might be playing a video game, but they might also be discussing with their friends how stressed they are about a physics class, while it appears that they are playing a video game. But often that's how they are staying connected and communicating. And it's important for them to be able to have that time. So everything is really a balance right now with our teenagers, but we really also have to continue to encourage their connection throughout the community. So one of the things that can be healthiest in terms of both managing stress and staying connected is volunteering. So they could be doing a fundraiser for some cause that they're really passionate about, or they might be going to a clothes cupboard or a food cupboard to stock it, to organize. There's a lot of different things that people can do to build the resiliency of their young people, have healthier, it will reduce their own stress to be thinking about other people and what other people's needs might be, and it'll build their social connection as well.
And certainly, Meg, all of that was true prior to the pandemic, but has definitely been amplified by it.
Exactly. All of the things that we knew to be the case before have just increased in their importance. One of the interesting things that I've learned recently is that people's empathy, so for young people of all ages, really, their empathy and their ability to regulate their own emotions are much higher predictors of success in school than IQ. And very often we reward athletic skills, we reward academic prowess. We forget to recognize moral accomplishments. It's really important for us to praise our young people for doing kind and generous things, for being kind and generous people. That's who we want to raise. We want to raise young people who are compassionate, who are good citizens, who are helpful. And to do that, we have to remember to praise those things and to help them develop those characteristics, in addition to being fit and being kind. And and being, smart and those kinds of things. But it's really about how hard did you work? I really admire that you stuck with that task, because that's way more important than how quickly they succeeded at some academic task. If they learn how to work through a problem, that's going to serve them much better in the long run.
And Meg, I'm guessing right now with all of the noise and the sort of the rancor that we're seeing out there in the public, that's probably more important than ever. Certainly you talked about keeping the physical and but the emotional part right now, and the ability to sort of help our young people understand the importance of kindness and collaboration and teamwork and working with one another and getting along in society. As parents and as community members, you noted in the last slide, it takes a village. That is going to be very critical given everything else.
It really is. And to be able to have rational or reasonable conversations about difficult topics is really important. And kids are going to learn that at home. So rather than avoiding difficult conversations, we might be better off actually even if you agree on a particular topic, maybe you play devil's advocate just so that you can teach your child, your young person, how to have a respectful conversation with a different point of view. I think that's really important. It does take a village, and it's important for us to remember that it is not just the things that we learn at home, but we create healthy environments for our young people throughout the community. So it's not, if we don't expect that young people are going to get angry about things all the time, if we expect that you can have a rational conversation about this, let's take a deep breath and continue the conversation. Let's not just stomp away. When we name that not every young person is binge drinking on the weekends, there are people who make it all the way through college without ever having gotten high. It's not a phase that everybody goes through. And there are much healthier ways to approach all of the issues that we deal with. The more we role model that, the more we name that you don't have to experiment just because, some people think that, oh, you're going to try it, so why not try it now? Nah, give your brain a break. How about you wait until you're legal, because brains are developing until their mid-20s? Why don't we wait until later? And then if you experiment, you're much less likely to suffer negative consequences once your brain has had a chance to make all of its healthy connections. And the more we create a society in which young people are encouraged to make healthier choices, the better off we all are.
Indeed, and certainly, Meg,
work that Chast does.
Yes, exactly. One of the ways to say that you and your team and the community educators across our agency and staff as well do that, in addition to modeling good behaviors and encouraging preventative practices, is to create an environment in our community that is one that is more safe and healthy. And Chastity Holland's going to talk to us a little bit now about how that includes the ability to create environments that are tobacco-free in our community. So Chast, talk about the work that you and the team do as it relates to that.
I have a really incredible team working against, tobacco and all of the new upcoming trends. Some of the things that we do or we try and focus on, especially with schools and really any locations that youth are present mostly, so recreation departments and places like that. We try and focus on partnerships as the forefront, so developing relationships with these places so that we can provide them with trainings to teach the kids educational bits and information, and also providing policy work and just little fun activities and different things like that things that relate to the different age groups. So we're not doing little splash pad events with the high schoolers. We're doing them with the little kids and just giving them little tidbits of information. But then with the high schoolers, we're doing more education that not only helps them learn about the tobacco products, but also how to be a liaison for their classmates, because students don't tend to want to talk to adults. They want to talk to their peers, and who better to help you get through a rough situation than your peer. So that's one of the big things that we do. And then alongside the partnerships, like I mentioned, we do focus a lot on policy work also. And I think one of the common misconceptions with our approach to people about policy work is that we're trying to give them an additional, an additional bit of work that they have to complete. But in reality, we're simply asking them if we can do it for them. We have the tools and the resources to review these policies and plug in the different things that are missing, or simply just make sure that they're in line with the ever-changing laws. I mean, tobacco companies are so on top of, the next thing that they can use to get youth addicted, because really youth are what, I feel like I'm saying that backwards, but youth are what is going to keep them sustained. It's easier to get a youth addicted to a nicotine product because their brain is still developing. Addiction is a form of learning. Your brain wants to learn, so especially as a youth. So they're not going to attract and get, like the older population, the adults addicted to their product. They're going to get the youth and then have a lifelong, or in their hopes, a lifelong user. So our job is to give the youth that education, and through the policies and the education, we can kind of set protocols and expectations for not just the youth, but also the staff and other guests that are visiting these locations. And that sets a great example for the youth to show them that they're being held to a higher standard, where they are expected something, and if they don't follow through with what's expected of them, there's consequences, preferably non-punitive. So the consequence may be that the product is confiscated, or that they have to follow through with some sort of restorative practice, where they have education on the issue that they were faced with, or something like that. But those are some of the things that we try and do with our program.
Yeah, and that really does lead to the conversation of that fourth bullet down there, where this work we're talking about was specifically starting with tobacco, but it doesn't end there. Chas, you really do connect. Right. We've talked about the concept of impact on and the impact programs with this team, with Meg in particular, in prior ACAP today. And I'm going to visit with her in just a moment before we end this broadcast about how that summer went, because we previewed that and what's been learned over the course of the summer. But again, you were talking briefly, and just want to let you do a little bit of a deeper dive in how those other programs that are under the ACAP umbrella, and even some outside, because I know we partner with community partners, are sort of weaving things together for organizations, for individuals out there in the community to say, yes, we can support you in developing tobacco policies, but there are also other things that we can do with you that will create a more robust and supportive environment for our youth.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that the purpose of going at it as an impact approach is to show them that we want to give them the easiest route possible. And by them, I mean the schools and the businesses themselves, where rather than having to meet with, 5 different programs and set up 5 different activities, or people that you have to go back and forth to talk to. Instead, we kind of work with one liaison through the impact team. So with tobacco prevention, if I go in and I present my tobacco prevention stuff, I'm also going in and presenting, DFC work and how they can do, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting Robin's program right now.
Drug-free community?
Not drug-free communities, but her.
Prime for Life.
Yes, thank you, Prime for Life. I'm sorry, that's Kim's program too. I should have remembered. So Prime for Life, and then we also have our new and Improving Outcomes for Youth program, and the restorative justice. They're all directly linked because they're all about improving they're all about improving youth's futures and giving them a really strong foundation to stand on so that when they do kind of move on into the real world, they have the tools that they need to defeat the odds that are, so readily thrown against them.
So Meg, let's talk about just, briefly, we visited with you earlier at the beginning of the summer, talking about what I call impact on wheels. You've been all across Aroostook County, and you've been in communities at times of celebration, and you connected with people directly, you and your team. And what have you learned, and what are your takeaways from your summer of being in the community?
We've been really intentional about that. And I will say, one of the biggest things that I have learned, because teens are the real passion for me. And one of the biggest things that I have learned is that our young people just want to be seen and they really want to connect. So I would be at the Northern Maine Fair. I was there a couple of nights in a row, and there would just be a sense of lingering of when young people feel seen and listened to, they're drawn to that. And so they would just kind of keep coming back, and I'd learn a little bit more and a little bit more. And I really think that it's so easy for us to kind of write young people off as being moody or difficult. And that's just not been the case at all. And I think even young people who come up very sullen and snarky and, you're not going to get through to me. When it came to, well, tell me something good that is going on, or tell me something, you and your friends have done, I might get, I don't have any friends. And that would open the door to more of an open conversation. And so I really think our young people are so vulnerable right now. And we really have to step up how we're listening to them. So the thing that I have learned most is that they need adults to connect and care. And that's what we're here for.
And now that we're back to school, is consistent with where we started in this conversation, what are the teen impacts plans for the school year?
So we will be out and about in the community. We will be continuing to be at community events. And so I want to encourage viewers that if you have events going on in the community, we would love to be a part of those. We will be at a recovery event in Fort Kent on the 18th of September. We will be at Caribou Rec Department for their Halloween activities, and would love to be at other events. We will be doing a big push for Sober October. So I hope we'll do some more of that in the weeks ahead to talk about that initiative. And we are getting back into the schools. So Julia will be working in Washburn. We have a team member, Brandy, will be working in Washburn as well, in Hodgdon. Chastity will be doing some things. We're looking to do Media Ready hopefully in Easton and some other schools. So we have curriculum that we can present in the public school systems. We're also happy to do things with Parks and Rec departments. And then we're really hoping to build kind of an after school activity through our Breakthrough Youth new program that we also will be talking about in upcoming episodes. So we encourage people to reach out to us. Prevention at acap-me.org. We'll get to our team and then we can field it to the correct person depending on the particular activity that we have going on. So we hope folks will reach out to us soon.
Yeah, indeed. Sounds like you have a busy, busy time ahead planned. It sounds like we'll be talking a lot too in the coming weeks as you prepare for all of that. Anything that we've missed from the four of you that we wanted to make sure we imparted on our back to school audience this time around? Right. Well, you did a great job covering it. And I think Meg provided the perfect segue that your team's going to be very busy. But speaking of teams, if you would like to join ours, again, thank you ladies for all being on this week's edition of ACAP Today. Before we leave all of you out there, if you are interested, as I noted, on being on Team ACAP, whether it's this great team, I don't see any current openings on this great team, but we do have others across the county. You can check them out on the ACAP website. You also should be aware that there's a $500 signing bonus now and some great benefits. Some of those are listed there on your screen, but you can read more about those on our website as well. Please do consider applying if you feel that you're qualified or have a passion for the work that we do. That's the first and biggest step to take, is having a passion for the work. And then we also want to share with you, before we leave you, as we do each week, we leave you with our snapshot of the week. This week we don't have any people in it, but there are lots of people inside the building behind that sign. This is ACAP's new facility at 1 Edgemont Drive in Presque Isle, not far from Northern Maine Community College and the Northern Maine Regional Airport or International Airport, and right across the street from the new National Guard Center. We're happy to be here. We have plans for this facility, as has been announced in the community. Over the next couple of years, we'll be transitioning it into a supportive housing facility. But for now, it's housing administration, members of our prevention team, some of the folks you see here on the screen for this broadcast, as well as our housing stability folks, and the new home to our Hope and Prosperity Resource Center, with plans to transition the building moving forward in the future. And so that's our snapshot of the week. We thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our 4 special guests. We'll be back next week with another edition of ACAP Today, and soon in the near future, probably with some of the guests that have appeared on this broadcast about some of the more new and exciting things that they're working on for fall and beyond. Have a great week, everyone.